Dandadan, or should I say Damdadam, was easily one of the biggest anime of this year, marking another hit for Netflix, who just can't seem to miss with their anime library at the moment, and also being another success story for one of Fujimoto's assistants. Man, what was this guy feeding them? One goes off and makes this, another creates Hell's Paradise, and the third goes off to create Spy Family. All big series. Only in this team could the Spy Family creator seem like the weird one. Dandadan begins with our lead Momo being dumped, I guess it's more of a mutual dumping, by her boyfriend because he sucks. Even though he does bear a resemblance to her beloved icon, Ken Takakura. Remember that name, it's important for later. Although I do kind of get what Momo was saying, he does have this look where you just kind of get lost in his eyes. But anyway, Momo is down in the dumps due to being single again and is trying to console herself. She wonders whether she'll ever find her own Ken Takakura when she stumbles across another classroom. Here we see a bespectacled young boy being picked on by some bullies. Just when it looks like they're going to step things up to another level of harassment, Momo steps in and defends him. Receiving positive attention for the first time in his life, this boy can't help but pick up the courage and talk to this girl that protected him. However, this guy is socially awkward and can't even face her. But that doesn't stop him from revealing his love of the occult and aliens, mistaking believing Momo of also being a fan. A mistake that cost him dearly when Momo loses it and throws his love back in his face, as well as rather nastily insulting him. With that done, Momo moves on, leaving him all sad and alone. Except that's not who Momo is. She's a kind girl and tries to repair the bridge that she nearly destroyed, even revealing that while she doesn't believe in aliens, she does believe in ghosts. Which obviously makes him laugh, because seriously, what type of idiot actually believes in ghosts? You see, he's a UAP boy, and she likes spirits. Both outraged by the other's dismissal of their beliefs, they challenge one another. Momo's to go to this abandoned hospital, which is a hotspot for UFOs, to prove that aliens don't exist, whereas Okarun, which is what Momo nicknames this boy, has to go to this apparently cursed tunnel to prove that ghosts don't exist. So of course, Momo instantly gets abducted by aliens, and Okarun runs into this. Awakening in this weird place, with barely any clothes on, Momo discovers what the aliens want from her. Her banana, something they can only retrieve through intercourse. Now hang on a second, the first episode isn't even finished yet. Before her chastity is removed from her, the aliens receive a phone call. But this isn't a regular phone call, but a Turbo Granny phone call. See, it turns out that Okarun has a mild case of possession. After a little skirmish between Turbo Granny and the aliens, Momo discovers that she has psychic powers which she uses to whoop the aliens' butt cheeks, and also temporarily remove Turbo Granny from Okarun's body. Though not fully, since Turbo Granny still has possession of his weenie. I'm not explaining it. But all this commotion results in that alien spaceship crashing, allowing Momo and Okarun to get away, as well as allowing the two to gather their thoughts. They realise that they must work together if they have any hope of regaining Okarun's lost weenie, and Momo also remembers that she never asked for Okarun's real name, to which he replies, I did tell you to remember his name. It seems that Momo has found her Ken Takakura, but that's how love starts, you know. From just this first episode, you can likely tell that this show is a bit weird, and also one with a fairly fast pace. Personally, I love the pacing of this series. Something worthwhile happens in every episode, and it made every week exciting whilst I waited for the next one. And there are some slower, quieter episodes too, and these are no less engaging as they allow us to focus on the characters and build the romance between the two leads. I absolutely adore the relationship between Momo and Okarun. These two characters have stronger chemistry and a more interesting relationship than most romance anime on the market. I watched both Blue Box and Ranma & this season, yet it was Dandadan's romance that I found the most captivating. The two leads are perfect for one another. Both feel very different, with Momo being more confident and extroverted, whereas Okarun is far shyer and more introverted. Yet they both feel very similar too, with both of them being complete weirdos. And it results in their personalities really gelling and bouncing off one another. It seems that Yukinobu Tatsu, the creator of Dandadan, was right to listen to his editor's suggestion and read over 100 romance manga, because he's clearly taken the aspects of these works that people connect to and funneled his favourite parts into Momo and Okarun. At times, Momo and Okarun feel like Kagome and Inuyasha, constantly bickering. Other times it's like Kimi ni Todake, where the characters are worried that they've made their loved ones hate them. And then there's just the fact that these two want to be with each other at all times. Individually, they're great. Okarun progressively becomes more comfortable around others and actively tries to be a better person. He also gets some of the slickest transformations that I've ever seen in an anime. And Momo, while Momo is my favourite character in Dandadan, she's also one of my favourite anime characters, period. And I love whenever she goes. Put these two together and you get an unstoppable force. It's not just the leads that are great, but also the supporting players too. When Aira first gets introduced, you'll think she's a bitch, and you're sort of expecting her to change as the series progresses, but that doesn't happen, and instead, she stays as the narcissist that she was first introduced as, which is hilarious. Her delusions of grandeur are so funny, and she really grows on you despite her personality flaws. In fact, like Momo and Okarun, it's her eccentric traits that make her so endearing. She's kinda like Tsukishima from Haikyuu. We all know that he's a douche, and we'd probably hate him in real life, but since he's on our team, you can't help but root for him, and also love whenever he's a douche to the other team. That's essentially what Aira is like, in my opinion, except replace douchebaggery with vanity. Then there's Granny Seiko, who has been extremely popular due to her personality, and also the fact that she's a gilf. Sorry, I was actually talking about Turbo Granny when I said that. And we can't forget about Gigi, even though it did feel like season 1 nearly did. We have a great set of characters here, and it helps that they're all propped up by some exceptional voice acting.
なんでてめえに指図されなきゃならねえんだよ。てめえはうちに負けたからだよ。ちょっとだ、クソだら、やってやんよ。ほらほらほらほら。
There was a lot of hype around the voice cast for this anime, considering how stacked it is. Firstly, Okarun shares a voice with Tanjiro and Kaneki. Granny Seiko is also Hinata. Aira is Nero, Gabi, and Ochako. The aliens are voiced by Zoro, and Gigi is Kageyama and Genos. The biggest surprise was getting Luffy to voice Turbo Granny, a decision that made Dandadan extra funny for some, as they got to hear Luffy talk about eating penis. But the voice actor that impressed me the most was arguably the one who was the least famous, and that was Shion Wakayama as Momo. Her biggest roles outside of Dandadan are Inoue in Licorice Recoil, Lemon in Makaine, and Shizuka in Mushoku Tensei. Certainly nothing to sniff at, but also not on the same iconic level as the others. She also has very few voice acting credits and appears to be a bit of a newcomer, but you never would have guessed with how she carried her weight alongside industry titans, perfectly showcasing Momo's Garo tendencies as well as highlighting her softer sides. The point is, they're all fantastic, and I'll never tire of hearing Momo go. What's made me very happy about Dandadan's success is the bright spotlight it has shone on Science Saru. They've always been a very underrated studio, consistently putting out high quality works, yet regularly being ignored due to those same works not having mass appeal. I'm glad that with Dandadan, Science Saru seem to have found their anime. Madhouse has it with Frieren and Death Note and Hunter x Hunter. Mappa has it with Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man. Bones has it, Wit Studio has it. Despite their excellence, I don't think Science Saru ever had that anime that people instantly thought of and connected to the studio. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Dandadan was the first time many people heard of this studio. So it makes me very happy seeing them get the recognition and infamy that they so sorely deserve, especially as they are a very fascinating studio. First in how they animate, using a combination of hand-drawn and digital animation, and secondly, in their very unique diversity. Unlike other Japanese animation studios, where most people are, surprise surprise, Japanese, Science Saru actually has a multicultural staff where people are hired on their skill regardless of their national origin. but I also believe that this global perspective allows for more well-rounded stories, and its dedication to selecting talent, regardless of ethnicity, certainly shows, because Dandadan is beautiful to behold. They have outdone themselves with this series. Not a single scene looked weaker than the others, there were no hairs out of place. The staff poured their hearts and souls into Dandadan, and it makes this anime a joy to witness. From the animation, to the direction, to the cinematography, even down to each enemy having their own colour, which occupies the entire screen. This is a very polished anime, and I don't know what Saru could have done to make a better adaptation. But Dandadan wouldn't have worked so well if the original source material wasn't so strong. So luckily for us, Dandadan's story is fantastic.
I'm so sorry, Ira. I swore I'd protect you, but in the end, all I did was hurt you. If you were someone else's daughter, you would have been so much happier. With me, you were miserable. I'm so sorry.
Dandadan works so well, just a beautiful way that it dances with its tone. 1 minute we're fighting aliens and trying to save Okarun's Willy, the next was stopping so that Momo and Okarun can have a nice moment together, then Granny Seiko shows up for some silly shenanigans, and then I'm bawling my eyes out because this yokai wanted to be a good mom. I cannot talk about this anime without discussing episode 7. Episode 7 of Dandadan is easily one of the strongest episodes of the entire year, and something that left me a complete wreck. It's not uncommon for villains and enemies to receive tragic backstories in anime, but I've never seen one as emotionally affecting as the one here. I tried to hold it in, but those tears came out whether I wanted them to or not. Science Saru put their hearts into every episode, but you know that this one was special to them, because the production value was incredible. There is a sequence in this flashback backstory that reminded me of the opening scene in Up. It's just this long, continuous scene where there is no dialogue, just the animation and music to reel you in. It is devastating, especially as there is no happy ending, just a tale of some poor soul whose pain and anguish distorted her into something unrecognisable. I want nothing more than for this spirit to find peace, and I really hope that Ira and Momo actually do something about what was shown in the backstory. Unfortunately, I've since discovered that there is nothing that either of them can do because life sucks. And I'm sad again. Back to the video. Honestly, I'm so glad Blue Box aired the same day as Dandadan because I really needed some wholesomeness after that episode. Didn't help that the next day I watched Look Back, and I also think I might have watched Grave of the Fireflies that same week too. So unsurprisingly, I was in turmoil. What makes this better is how all the yokai and aliens are based on actual yokai and alien myths. Turbo Granny and Acrobatic Silky both existed before Dandadan, and the author has simply given them a backstory that takes advantage of their real life inspirations and lore. They even find a reason for why aliens abduct cows. Silky's backstory does make me wonder about Turbo Granny's though, since we know she has a desire to protect women from evil men, and because Okarun becomes depressed every time he transforms, likely reflecting how she feels in every moment. I also appreciate that even the villains are funny and silly, perfectly in keeping with the show's atmosphere. Dandadan is just an amazing show. It has everything you could possibly want in a nice, neat, polished package. Voice acting, characters, story, humour, romance, animation, cinematography, direction, music, even an opening by CreepyNut. Man, what a year they've had. Also, Season 2 is apparently coming out next year, in July? Go watch Dandadan, you won't regret it. Although I do have one criticism. This show never did tell us who Dan was. And for that reason, I am going to have to give this show a 0 out of 10. Very disappointing. Like, what did this show expect me to do? Look up articles on Google explaining the title? Come on now, I'm too lazy for that. But were you too lazy for it? Do you know what the title means? Do you think this show is a 0 out of 10? Let me know what you think about Dandadan in the comments below, as well as who your favourite character is. And do keep your eyes out for next week when I hopefully release a video on the best anime of 2024. Who knows, maybe Dandadan will be on that list. But for now, please leave a like, it really supports the video and helps me out. And if you want to see more from me, then do consider subscribing. I'd love to have you become a regular viewer. But until next time, thank you so much for watching this video, I really appreciate it, and hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye!